And you're live here on the Junius Maltby Channel. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. We're going to take a walk through the news this morning here on the extemporaneous ramblings of a madman, broadcasting live from the bunker. So go ahead and give me a sound check. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. I know it's an international channel, so some of you are headed to bed. Some of you are listening while you're eating dinner. I've heard all the different stories of where you guys are and what you're doing when you tune into the channel. So thanks for being here most of all. A couple of things to talk about today. The main story, we'll get to it. You saw the headline. It's about accounting errors. Those happen quite a bit when you're dealing with hundreds of billions of dollars. You know, you just make mistakes and, oh, whoops. You know, they're called whoopsie movements, I guess. So we'll take their word for it because, you know, there's honest people. There's no room for wrongdoing. There's no dishonesty in the financial world. Everybody's above board and honest, and there's no greed. No one hides anything. There's never convictions. There's no reason to really have an SEC or anybody that does any enforcement, even though they're part of the problem. Before we get going right now, why don't we all do the little thing that we do to throw off the algos, the algorithms? You know how they search here on the channel and they police the speech in the chat. So I'm going to say things like Wolf Blitzer, CNN, Anderson Cooper, Justin Bieber, Kim Kardashian. I like them. They're the best. People Magazine. You guys ever watch Dancing with the Stars? How about The Voice? Oh, I love watching The Voice. I love those reality show competitions. The Bachelor. That's probably one of the best. Maybe even The Bachelorette. They're such just exemplary examples of everything that you should strive to be in life. And I'm just so happy to be part of a society that puts these things on pedestals and celebrates mediocrity, debauchery, degeneracy. Those are the things that I want to see propped up and displayed nationwide. I do believe in moral relativism and all of those things. Oh my goodness, just celebrate it, guys. Diversity. Remember, diversity is strength. It's our greatest strength. And ignorance is genius these days. There's no reason to be smart, being intelligent, being articulate, being well-read. Well, it's probably racist or something like that. So here we are live on the Junius Maltby Channel. I will offend you, most likely, if you're fragile. I don't sugarcoat things here. If you're tuning into this channel and you're part of it, you're most likely part of the revolution. You're probably on a list alongside myself, and that's fine. If you're not on a list these days, you're not doing something right. You're doing it all wrong, and you're probably part of the problem. We are being singled out more and more often. They've weaponized the intelligence apparatus, the judicial apparatus, the law enforcement apparatus to declare us, yes, those of us who believe in good things, traditions, culture, and basic human rights, we are now the enemies of the state. And I celebrate it. I embrace it with my arms fully. Thank you for declaring me that. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the day where I can meet you on a pitched battlefield and we can engage. All right. Now that that's all out of the way, we probably just erase any gains we made with the algos because they heard the other part and now they're freaking out, but whatever. It gets them to tune in. The guy in the FBI van down the street is probably losing his shit right now. Good for him. Markets are down today. I will get to the accounting error in a second, but this is, it's news. A friend of mine texted me about Tesla stock. Apparently Tesla got like annihilated this morning. That's what happens when your billionaire CEO is gambling on Doge. So Tesla was down like 13.7%. I believe the Dow was down around 600 earlier. It's down 468 now, 1.35%. Not a big percentage-wise, but that's a drop. That shakes some people in their boots. Got the S&P down 39, 1%. We got NASDAQ down 23, that's 0.17%. We'll check in on metals real quick. We got silver up at $27.67. It's at 17 cents there, right? And 0.65%. Gold's down a little bit. We're looking at down $2. So flat. Metals are flat. They're not really doing a whole lot, but gold's holding strong at 1835.60. Remember, we were told it wouldn't go back to 1900 this year. Those people They don't know what they're talking about. You got a lot of people that, they're apologists for the system. They believe in it. They got their back. And we won't talk about the shot too much other than the fact that it's killed 3,000 people. More people have died from the vax than, I guess, every other injection with that purpose in mind since 1980. It's a pretty significant number. Pretty significant number on that. So that's definitely a concern. But, don't look at that too much. Oh, and then before I forget, this is a good one. Have you guys looked up and seen this? Have you guys seen the, remember all the ventilators they made? How about this? You mind if I look it up for you? This is fun. Let me look something up for you real quick. I was talking to somebody. Now I'm going to get to the news. Look, we only have one story to really cover today, and it's short. So just tune in. We will get into the accounting errors with the LBMA, I promise you. But I wanted to just point out a couple of things because it ties in very nicely to these things. We're always told to believe and to trust people, right? And I'm going to touch on the spoofing situation in a minute because I just want to show you cannot trust all the things we are told. Now, remember all the ventilators? They were the biggest thing we needed. It was important that we had ventilators. Am I right? Now, if you see this, they're all going into landfills, pallets after pallet after thousands of ventilators in the back of these trucks, medical ventilators. All those ones, remember they Operation Warp Speed, they geared up, and then they realized they don't do anything. People don't need them. It's not really part of the treatment process. Well, they're all of those millions, if not billions and billions of dollars of taxpayer money are just going into the Miami-Dade County landfill. And I'm not making this up. It's all over the news. You can see it. You can look it up. It was a couple weeks ago. I don't know why, but Wolf Blitzer in this situation room, he didn't cover the Miami-Dade landfill ventilator situation very well. That didn't fit the narrative, You ever notice that? When things don't fit the narrative, they just go ignored. They didn't happen. It's like it never existed. It's like it's an alternative timeline. So that was a very interesting piece of news that I thought was valid. I thought it was something that I would share with all of you because it's going to tie in nicely to what we're going to talk about today. And that is, what do we believe? All these people, whether it's accounting firms, financial entities, banks, the SEC, Wall Street, the political machine. What do you truly, it goes into even what we talked about yesterday, the compass situation. Do you really believe the things you're told and read every single day? It's remarkable how often we find out that these things aren't true, or that we were sold a bill of goods or a lie. So now we see ventilators being trashed and thrown into, just thousands of them. Look at the size of these. This is unopened. These are banded and like plastic wrapped banded crates and boxes. Thousands. All these effing ventilators. This is what's going on. Brand new, brand effing new. That's in the article here. And a resident filmed it, of course, and they're all going into the landfills. They weren't going to tell anybody this happened, of course. So that took place. And again, I'm getting to the news here. Just a moment. Uno momento, por favor. The other piece that I wanted to talk about with all of you that ties in quite nicely with this was on the news this morning as well regarding the great sickness. And it was political theater, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't even a legitimate concern. They believe that the fear of outdoor transmission was completely overblown. Completely overblown. The CDC, again, we're finding out, exaggerated these things repeatedly. It was repeatedly exaggerated on how this is working. And the story, the headline from Fox News this morning on this was that CDC risk of coronavirus transmission outdoors greatly exaggerated in a bombshell report. 10% benchmark based partly on misclassification. So anyways, they shut down and committed a controlled demolition, as I've been saying for the last year, controlled demolition of the world economy for literally no reason whatsoever. The lie is clearly being exposed, and I don't know. I still don't understand how many people buy it. It's just bizarre to me. I mean, again, like the Amish people said, the reason they're not afraid of COVID and they don't, it doesn't exist where they are is because they don't have television. It really only exists where people have TV, and they got the fear machine pumped. You want to talk about peddling fear? Look at CNN. Look at the people that are afraid of COVID. Those people, that's all they do 24 hours a day is peddle fear. So you can't believe them on that front. You really can't believe anything these days. Remember how many people now, this is going to tie into, might even trigger some people. I wouldn't doubt it. People are so fragile these days, especially when it comes to discussing precious metals. I never thought the people that discuss sound money and precious metals would be so weak. But then again, a lot of weak people today, like that quote I put up in the community tab yesterday. And if you hadn't seen it, I'll share that quote with you now live, and I'll read it to you on air because I think it's that important. A lot of you gave me some good feedback on this. It's a quote by Thucydides. All right. And he says, the society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting by fools. And I would say that the cowardice and foolishness of this era knows no rival. I think we live in the most cowardice and foolish era in recorded history. Now, when it comes to believing things, believing accounting, or just taking people's word for it, precious metals, especially when it comes to silver and gold, the vaults, the banks, the ETFs, it's pretty complicated, right? I mean, I've read some things and heard some things about, it's one of the things, and you might, don't jump on me for this, please, just can you hear me out for one freaking second? I listened to a phenomenal debate on gold versus crypto, and just out of education, out of interest, it was pretty good. It was supposedly a really big debate between two titans in the industry. You can look it up. It was on YouTube. One of the points, however, was one of the complexities. Now, again, there's a difference between paper and physical metal. We all know that, right? And we're going to get into that a little bit with this news piece today. But the metals markets are really significantly infected by this disease of people confusing the two, the metals versus paper. Which quote is which? Everyone always refers to a price, but it's always the paper price. And what plagues metals is the manipulation, the lack of clarity. Now, the Bitcoin proponent in the debate brought that up. He said, look, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of people involved, a lot of errors in accounting. He was talking about this before this news story broke. It's very difficult to have true price discovery, and precious metals do not exist currently in a true free market, whereas sometimes, at least with blockchain stuff, some would argue that it does, because it's kind of like the world deciding on what the price point would be or whatever. I'm just bringing that up as an example because precious metals, have a significant problem when it comes to price discovery. And there's a lot of lies. There's a lot of conspiracy. You don't know who or what to believe. And there's just tons of debate. I mean, it seems like there's more debate nowadays with all the technology and all of the modern communication tools that we have. It shouldn't be this way. Metals were less confusing 100 years ago than today. It's crazy. You can't figure it out. Now look at the spoofing thing. Let's just bring that up as an example. Before we get into this, let's set the background a little bit. We saw the news, headlines abound. For the last couple of years, every time it made the news, and when it first was discovered, I started covering it. Then there was the investigations, then there was the trials, the prison accusations and sentencing. And of course, then there was a lawsuit involved. People had to pay fines. JP Morgan paid an exorbitant fine. When you look at their books, it wasn't that big a deal. But for most people, most institutions, it was a crippling amount of money. Now there were spoofing charges. Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, I believe HBS or HSBC, a lot of banks were involved. JP Morgan was really the name that kind of made the front page news on settling the lawsuit for manipulating precious metals prices, specifically silver. So we know what happens. We know what happened. We know they got caught. And we know they paid a significant fine. That's pretty clear. I don't know how people still deny precious metals manipulation. I don't care what kind it is. I don't care what level it is. It does happen. If you deny it, You're just denying the reality. I mean, you can look it up and read it for yourself. It's been happening. They admit it. The traders have been doing it for over a decade. So quite some time they've been manipulating precious metals prices. And there's, it gets pretty squirrely when you start looking at it. So you can't believe anything these days. Now I go on the news this morning and I'm doing my reading. I'm just doing some research, checking stuff out. And I come across this article and I realize pretty shortly after that it's a short article, but it's going to take up probably this whole episode. I want to just focus on it. I know I opened with some other input, some other opinions, but that's this channel. I ramble, go off on a tangent sometimes, and I'll rant a little bit. But that's why you guys come here. I think you feel the same way, and you like hearing somebody else kind of express it. The headline here was on Kitco. The article was only 4 hours old, so it's pretty new. I didn't even see it. I didn't even see any of the other apologists for the mainstream narrative come out and report on it yet or try to question it. Its accounting errors causes LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association, to overstate silver holding by 3,300 tons during March silver squeeze. Pretty convenient time, I would say, to overstate your silver holdings. But I don't believe in coincidences very often. I think a lot of times things are timed just perfectly on purpose. Editor's note: with so much market volatility, stay on top. Oh, we don't need that. They're just trying to sell us on looking at the news. Okay, here we go. Kitco news. Let's just read it. I'm going to let you guys, well, I'll probably interrupt here and there, but just kind of formulate your own opinion. Let's read this together and see what you think. An accounting error in the silver market made by the London Bullion Market Association comes at a difficult time for the precious metal as investors are trying to gauge how much supply is actually in the marketplace. Again, what I talked about earlier, it's one of the big debates between the crypto guys and the metals guys is we know how much crypto there is. I mean, it's pretty clear. How come we can't figure out how much silver is out there really accurately and in vaults and stuff? How come there's problems with that? That's why I think tokenization or blockchaining would be a little bit better, but I don't know. I'm an idiot. Tuesday, the LBMA confirmed it, made a reporting error in the amount of physical silver held in the London vaults. According to the recent report, the LBMA overstated London vault silver holdings by 3,300 tons in March, when the market saw unprecedented demand for the physical precious metal. Overstated by 3,300 tons? I can imagine if the London Bullion Market Association was off by 100 ounces, or they misplaced one bar, or maybe a guy tripped and stubbed his toe on one and one fell into a corner of a room. But 3,300 tons of silver? Has a head rolled yet? How do you lose that much? How do you not know how much? I think most of you do a pretty good job. You probably know down to the gram how much silver you have, right? Really? I mean, these are the people in charge of the metals market. These are the people that are in charge of price discovery. These are the banks that make the phone calls to each other to tell people what the paper price on a COMEX bar is. These are the guys that the world relies upon. Let's continue on here. Oh, this is great. It gets even more colorful. A data submission error. Pretty vague, isn't it? Who do you blame for that? A data submission error led to the publication of an incorrect aggregate figure for the total silver held in London vaults in March. That sentence uses words and a lot of jargon to throw everybody else off. They just lost 99.9% of the NPCs. All the grand eaters are going to do is they're going to read that while they're chewing on or looking through their box of crayons to find their favorite flavor, whether it's yellow or orange or red. And they're going to think, oh, that's good. They make words that are big. It makes sense. I listen to them. They're right. It was just an error. And they listen. They don't care. They're just going to ignore it from that point forward. They're not going to question it. It's done. Let's read that again. A data submission error led to the publication of an incorrect aggregate figure for the total silver held in London vaults in March. Try that with the IRS sometime. Oh, I'm sorry. There was a data submission error on my part, and it led to the publication of an incorrect aggregate figure for how much my income was and how much taxes I owed. And deductions and such. So I'm sorry about that. I know you'll understand. I mean, the LBMA does this all the time, right? It won't get you very far. No one's going to listen to you. They're going to be like, shut up, peasant, pay up. The corrected figure is 1,143,194 troy ounces. Now let's see, in one raid, this channel alone pulled over 11,000 ounces off the market. We did pretty good. We do pretty good here on the channel. Now that's what the LBMA said. That's what the LBMA said. It was previously reported that at the end of April 2021, there were 1,153,154 troy ounces of silver held in London vaults. And I think they're adding the 3 zeros there, so it must be 1 billion. Representing 0.9% increase on the previous month. Bullion Star on Twitter commented stating, in early April, LBMA claimed that the total silver held in the LBMA London vaults had risen by a massive 11%. Do you remember that? There were even silver stacking community members that were actually proclaiming this as fact. They were posting this and reporting this and doing stories on this. You know, many of the people that were anti-silver squeeze, they were anti-cornering the silver market, you know, they thought that we actually believed we were going to do this overnight. Number one, no one claimed that. No one thought we would. No one thought we were going to crash COMEX overnight. No one did. Not me anyway. I never thought that. I never really heard anybody claim that and sincerely believe that this was going to be like an overnight phenomenon. It's a long, drawn-out fight. We've been at it for years. We'll be at it for a long time. The thing is, I did see reports come out from critics of the silver squeeze movement, channels out there that try to create a platform for themselves and kind of stand out as being questioning of the people or the desire to engage in the silver squeeze. And they used the story, which essentially was just reports coming from LBMA, that everything was fine. There's a surplus of silver. There's a lot of silver, and that the vaults had risen by a massive 11% during March, from 1.125 billion ounces, or 34,996 tons, to 1.249 billion ounces, 38,859 tons. So somehow like 4-something tons, or what we're reading is 3,300 tons, came out of nowhere. They had a surplus. This, it turns out, was not true. This was not true. So back to what we were talking about. You had all these channels out there saying everything was bad. The news was they were reporting essentially what LBMA was reporting, as if, and they were using that fact, that data, to discount and discourage those who were taking part in the silver squeeze. And now we're finding out it was a bunch of horse shit. Literally. It was the shit from a dead horse's ass. Pardon my French, but I don't care. That's how these people are. They speak dribble. Now, again, the tonnage amount released by the LBMA, who you would think would have a pretty good accounting firm. I mean, these guys are in London, right? I mean, hello, White. Yes, we have accounted for the accuracy of the precious metals held in the vaults, and we have a significant amount of tonnage. As a matter of fact, those who are engaging in the silver squeeze movement are wasting their efforts. How dare them approach the throne with such discontent and malcontent? These miscreants, we'll teach them. Release the numbers. Tell them we've accounted for an extra 4,000 tons of silver, and they will be silent. Send the peasants away. They shall not dare question the London Bullion Market Association, for we are in charge here of the metals prices, yes? How dare you be so insolent, you bastards? You bastard children. You will believe what we tell you. So let it be written, and so let it be done. That's how they act. These very, very, you're not to question them. The funny thing is they have people that run that for them. It's funny. Precious Metals channels on YouTube run that story for them. They took the information and they run with it. Now, it turns out it was not true. It was a lie. Or in their words, it was a data submission error that led to the publication of an incorrect aggregate figure. Okay, we'll keep going back to that because that's what it was. It wasn't a lie. It was an incorrect aggregate figure from a data submission error. Okay, everyone's buying that. In the age of computers and flawless accounting, in an age of all of these things, I mean, I don't think I've ever misplaced even a tenth of an ounce. I mean, as a matter of fact, I found a pre-82 copper penny. It was 95% copper yesterday with Mrs. Maltby in our change at a grocery store. And I accounted for it. I took it home and I put it in my little box. I found it. There you go. Mr. Junius keeping track of even one little copper. LBMA can't keep track of 3,300 tons of silver. So they lied. I'm not going to say it was an error at all. I'm going to call them straight up. It's a lie. These are the same guys, the same people that play back and forth with the banks that do spoofing problems, all right? Nobody's telling the truth here. Come on. You believe these people? Come on, really, seriously. Look at me straight in the face and tell me you actually believe that these individuals are telling you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God. You really believe it? Come on. You believe anything. If that's the case, I got a lot of stuff I could sell you. I got a new coin I just invented. It's a Junius coin. I'll sell you that. It each piece represents an acre of land in beachfront property in Arizona. I'm going to have my tea too here while we do this. So it turned out it wasn't true. The real end of the March figure was 1.143 billion ounces. So, or tons, sorry. 35,557 tons, yeah. 35,557 tons. So they were, again, like we've seen in the headline, they were 3,300 tons off. Okay, so looking at the numbers in detail, 3,300 tons is, check these numbers out, check it out, 96,251,100 troy ounces. So think of that for a minute. They were off. They were missing. They couldn't account for 96,251,100 ounces of silver. That's a pretty significant data submission error. According to some analysts, with tens of thousands of tons of fractionally held gold and silver cleared every year in the London market, transparency is vital. But they're not transparent. Hey, Chris Marcus was just in the chat earlier, right? And one of you said that Chris Marcus, the founder of Arcadia Economics, if you're still listening, Chris Marcus, we're reading this part about you who's in, and you're mentioned in this article. The founder of Arcadia Economics has previously said that the U.S. Mint has been unable to meet physical demand. It's true. We've covered this. The U.S. Mint's been unable to meet physical demand. The Perth Mint, the Royal Mint, a lot of mints unable to meet physical demand. Marcus often states there has been a lack of backing behind the sales of certain silver contracts. I gotta get back in touch with Chris Marcus. We've been going back and forth trying to get together to have a little talk and record it for all of you. Good guy, runs a great channel. In regards to this latest incident, Marcus tweeted, "I feel like I almost have to sleep on this one before commenting further, because unless I'm missing something, did they basically just say that they didn't add the 118 million ounces they claimed during the silver squeeze weekend?" You think about that for a second. You guys really think this was a coincidence during what some would consider to be the height or the peak of the silver squeeze movement, which I don't think it is. I think it's just getting going. It just got started. Again, we're just warming up. We're going to keep attacking. Do you truly and honestly, can you tell me with a straight face that you think this was a coincidence or truly just some kind of accounting error? Please. Please. It's not an accounting error. Okay, it's not a coincidence. They released those numbers like a bomber releases, whatever those things, those flares, to try to distract from like a missile hitting them, heat seeking. Like we were on target. You want to know when you're over the target? When stuff like this happens. They were scared. They were running scared. And it's dishonesty. Absolutely. And they won't be investigated. No one's going to investigate them. Come on. When you got the wealth, when you got the silver, when you got the gold, you make the rules. And they're making the rules, ladies and gentlemen. And they'll lie to you all they want. This is why you can't believe, again, you cannot believe the paper silver prices that are being shown to you every day. At this point, who could possibly believe what we're told? How do we know that anything, any number, any metric, any measure, any single accounting that comes out of the LBMA, how can you rely on it as being true? Hey, Johnny Danielson, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Woohoo! Not often I'm on here when you are live. Well, here we are, we're live. And Johnny, I appreciate your support. It's people like you that continue to motivate and support this channel and help it out. I appreciate it. Thank you. This actually infuriated me when I came across this article, because it's one of those things that's not going to get a lot of news. People aren't going to, CNN won't cover it, Fox won't cover it, CNBC probably won't touch it. None of the skeptics, none of the people that doubt the silver squeeze, none of the people that reported those numbers as fact and carried the banner, none of the apologists for the LBMA and the system. Oh, there's no manipulation in silver. There's no manipulation. Everything they say is true. There are no lies. There's a surplus of silver. There's a surplus in production. There's a surplus in supply. Believe everything you are told. My premiums. And just keep quoting my premiums. Well, my friend who bought 500 ounces back in March a year ago, he paid a premium. And guess what? He surpassed it by quite a bit. He's not worried about his premiums anymore. On a more cynical side, many traders and investors in the bullion markets have been talking about the silver squeeze. This has been caused by a band of traders organizing through social media and piling into, nope, we're not piling into silver-backed ETF silver, SLV, not at all. I haven't touched that. As a matter of fact, if you're buying ETF silver, you're not part of the silver squeeze at all. If it's not physical and you're not taking it home, it's not even a raid. You better bid it. You better get a shipping label and a tracking number, or you didn't buy silver. SLV, get the hell out of here. Paper shit. You kidding me? I've never seen ETF on a periodic table of the elements. You guys, you seen it up there? Can someone show me the periodic table of the elements and show me the element ETF? I just haven't seen it. Like, how many neutrons and electrons does it have? ETF silver. I'm confused. Isn't it just like cellulose? It's basically paper, right? What is it? Having a hard time. So it's basically carbon. Essentially, it's mostly made of carbon. I would say that so what you're telling me is ETF, being that it's paper and that's mostly carbon, they're made of the most common element on Earth. Because I've never seen ETF on a periodic table of the elements, so other than carbon. Whatever. Get the hell out of here. The monthly chart below shows just how big the volume spike has been over the last year compared to when the price was trading at higher levels in the past. Is there enough physical silver out there to back the current paper being sold? No, the answer is no. The answer is no. We know that. There's not enough silver. These people, they've been wrecking the system the whole time. They're lying to everybody. That's all they do is lie. They spoof, they lie, they deny that they spoof, but then they get caught and then they admit it, then they pay the $900 billion fees and fines. No one goes to jail. They just lie. But, some people believe them. Some people go to bat for them. I don't. Burn them down. Burn them at the stake. Hang them high. Do what you got to do. Get rid of them. Get more confrontational. That's what this channel's about. I'm just listening to Maxine Waters. She called me up one day and she's like, Junius Maltby, I need you to get more confrontational against these institutions. I need you to get there and get your people out on the street. I need you to put your fist in the air and demand some damn accountability from the central banks. So I listened to her. I said, okay, Max, I will get, in your words, more confrontational. I promise you. So here I am. This is me and you getting more confrontational. So let's get more confrontational, ladies and gentlemen. Don't believe these bastards. They're just lying to you. They're lying to me. They're lying to all of us. And just keep stacking. Get rid of your fiat. We are entering perilous times, unrivaled in history. I can tell you that right now. It looks worse every day. Got no hope for the future of this country or the world economy. That's it for today's broadcast. Now, please like it. If you could, hit the little thumbs up and share it. Post it. I know a lot of you guys are on the Reddit places, so go ahead and post this stuff on Reddit. When you see a video here, share it with those guys. Give them some motivation. Show them the other videos. Show them the archives. Show them the library here on the Junius Maltby Channel dating back. Heck, I've got a video titled Silver, Money for 7,000 Years. Made that video over almost a decade ago. A lot of videos in the Silver playlist on this channel. I've had a playlist titled Silver on this channel since 2013. And in that playlist, you will find an exorbitant amount of information related to silver purchasing power over time and history, mining, production numbers, costs, all of that. It's all there. Go ahead and look at it. If you're new to the silver stacking movement, there's a lot of stuff there you can find. So check it out. Thanks for tuning in here to the Junius Maltby Channel live today, this broadcast. I appreciate you all being here. And until next time, I'll see you guys. But remember, don't believe a damned thing that you see in the news at all. It's all trash. It's all lies. And there's a huge agenda there. They're just trying to tell you what to do. They're trying to manipulate you and me. Call of the Wild. Thank you, my friend. One of my patron members is here, and he's throwing down, I think that's a South African currency. A Call of the Wild. Welcome. Thank you for the knock. Any question with that? Any statement or comments? More than happy to share it with the community here. Thank you, Call of the Wild. That's 100. Is it South African rands, or is it? I forget the name, my friend. I forget the currency. But thank you. Got all of my friends here. Got Physics Hypernova, Paul Laidler, Nurse Manning, Bill Spencer, Mimaru's here, Ray Finkel, Celtic Knot, good to see you, and Jeff Keller, Bill Spencer, Rick Golfman, Johnny Silver, Johnny Boy Silver, Mark Gutierrez, Scott Horechka, good to see you as well. Like having all the family, all the members of the channel here and patrons. Good to see each and every one of you. Smoke Check 7, you're also in the chat. All right, well, thank you all for being here. If I missed your name, I'm sorry. I'll see you next time. I promise you. And thanks for tuning in. Have a good rest of your day. And remember, everything you're told, everything by the mainstream media or these outlets or these banks is a damn lie. There's nothing truth to it at all. Good day.